Hello, hello. Hi, Fateh.
Hi, Louise. How's
How
it
are
going?
you? Yeah, I'm fine, thank you. How are you?
Not too bad. It's a Tuesday, surviving, hanging in there.
Yes, almost the weekend, right?
All it
Um,
feels like a Thursday, except it's not.
yeah, except it's not. So I see a few people are already here. Hi, Clémence. Hi, Aurélie, Victor, Jamel, Victoria. So today I'm super happy to have you, Fateh, with me. So it's a webinar where we will talk about AI, how to sell faster without losing the human touch, right? Because this is the biggest issue I think today that sales and go-to-market teams face. So, for the one who doesn't know me, I'm Eloise. I work at La Growth Machine. I run this kind of webinars every week. With experts of the ecosystem, sales, go to market, also outbound experts. And yeah, today we are with Fateh, that is working at Dust. And yeah, Fateh, I let you introduce yourself. And just before, we have a chat bubble just on the right side corner. So don't hesitate to say hi, to also like ask every question you have. And yeah, Fateh, I let you introduce yourself.
For sure. So, hi, everyone who's already joined. Also, very curious to know where people are joining from.
Yes.
Yes. But so, yeah, so I'm an AE. I work at Dust. I started 3 months ago. But overall, I've been in sales for approximately 9 years of my life now. So at some point, like when ChatGPT did not exist, I was still doing prospecting then. When cold calling, depending on who you ask, it's still very important, but was like the way to go about. Got trained on all of those things. And overall, I've been working in enterprise, mid market, like SMBs as well, but generally enterprise. And everything from agencies to vertical SaaS solutions to marketplaces and now Dust. But I think the main reason I'm here today is because, well, when you're working for like an AI based company that's primary product is AI essentially, you see like you're surrounded by so many different things that people keep hearing. There's a lot of noise of what AI can do, what AI can't do, and how should we treat it. So I've really tried since I've joined to share more content, share more insights, and reduce the noise around it, and give people much more realistic expectations of like, this is how you can actually leverage AI right now, particularly for people who are not so technical. And that's going to be part of what I'm going to try to do today. Hopefully, I succeed. I'm not as experienced, Louise, as you are with webinars, but I am with people, and I hope that comes across.
Exactly. So we have people from Brazil, Paris, India. You, Fateh, I think you are in Paris too, right? Yeah.
Yeah. Based in
Just,
uh,
yeah,
originally from Pakistan and previously was working out of the US.
yeah.
Came to Paris 7, 8 years ago. So the French people might judge me for my level of French. I do speak it. It's just not great.
And people will laugh about my accents, so
Uh,
that's okay.
it's a
Um,
lovely.
Great. So before we start, I know, Fateh, that you have you can share your screen because you have a great presentation. Before that, I want to ask you guys: are you familiar with AI agents in general? So I will submit a little, publish a little poll just right now. And also, how are you familiar with prospecting tools? So because Dust is a AI agent solution. Like Growth Machine is a prospecting tool, sales automation tool. So super happy to know how familiar, how advanced you are, because we can adapt also the demo. And yeah, it could be super great to have this kind of information. So I think on the poll side, you have poll, you can just submit your vote. Is it working? Do you see it, guys? Let's just put a thumb or just say one or zero in the chat if you have it. And yes.
Right. Brian says very familiar with AI and sales automation. Nice. Curious to see what you'll think in the end.
Yes. So guys, do you see the poll? Yeah. Okay. Thank you, Guillaume. Great. So Let's go.
Let's
Fazeh, I can maybe let you share your screen.
100%. So before I do that, just want to give you an idea on how I want to take today, right?
Yeah.
So the goal is like, as I said, there's a lot of noise around AI and what AI can do. At Dust, primarily what we're trying to do is make AI accessible to everyone because we really think like leveraging AI will help us define what the future of work looks like, right? There's a few companies that have done a very good job in defining the future of work. Slack is one, there's a few others. And we really feel like since AI has become a lot more accessible, it's really going to play a massive role in how we work in 6 months from now, in 2 years
Mm,
from now, in 5 years from now. A big part of that is making sure that there's not anyone left behind. And this is what we're trying to do. We're trying to allow people to build AI agents that have no technical background. If you have technical background, there's a lot you can do, and I'll bring in my solutions engineer to explain what you could do. But the general goal is like, hey, we want you to be able to start. We want you to be able to change the way you work from now. And over
mm,
the next 6 months, 12 years, even, you should be able to scale on that. So no one should be left behind. There shouldn't be AI inequality in the space. And everyone should understand how agents and humans essentially will be working together overall, right? So when I start, I'll essentially do want to give a background on what AI agents are, a bit also on how we can build them. And from that part, I think it will set the stage on how we at Dust use AI agents. And then afterwards, just some other use cases as well. You will all see two separate demo screens, and there's a reason why, and this is why I want to lay the stage for it. The first reason is I wanted to give you a very real understanding of how we leverage it. So there will be agents that I call on a daily basis and that impact my workflow. The second part is agents that I do call regularly, but because of confidentiality reasons, like I want to show you what it actually looks like in HubSpot in the end. We're a SOC 2 compliant company. There are things we cannot show. I can't put on transcripts from my actual customers. So there's a bit of the part which will be like, hey, this is a fake company and we're doing some fake testing here. But
yeah.
essentially, we do the same things in real as well, right?
Great. Super
Yeah.
clear.
So I'm going to start with what every salesperson hates doing, sharing slides. But very soon from those slides, we're going to move on to the actual demo for sure. So let me know, Eloise, when you can see my screen.
Yes. People are or somewhat familiar with AI agents and prospecting tools or can't live without them.
Oh, amazing. I like these people already. It's a bit the same here. And okay, and I'm actually very curious because I think there's a bit of a twist in what I'm going to do today, and I want to see how people react to that. But just to quickly set the screen for anyone who joined a bit late, I am the AE at Dust. There's around 7 or 8 of us right now. I've been in sales for 9 years. I'm part of the early GTM team over here. I've been in sales globally, have started my career as a BDR, worked up the ranks to be an ENT, so a bit familiar with the pain points and essentially the issues that everyone faces. And I always enjoyed working in different countries and trying different tools. So as I said, I worked in agencies, worked for marketplaces, vertical SaaS, and now Dust, which is a very horizontal platform. But the funny part is like in 10 years, this is probably the first tool that I'm selling that I'm a user of as well. So
Mm,
it's a very interesting space for me because every time there's a new feature coming out, I'm usually the one they're testing it on. And I'm like, whoa, this is awesome, or this absolutely is shit. So please let's go back. And it's a very nice space to be in. And this is one of the reasons, like if you pick anyone in the Dust team, I feel like they can do a webinar because they use Dust on a day-to-day basis, right? So what exactly is Dust and what are we trying to do? We're essentially a company that has created a horizontal platform which allows you to build AI agents on top of that. The reason to do this is, as I said earlier, to make sure that everyone gets access to AI without the noise and without too much complexity. And we want to see and encourage how people transform how they work. Sales is what we'll discuss today, but in general, like in marketing, in data, etc., by leveraging AI on a day-to-day basis. So before I show you the actual demo, just to take a step back and kind of show you what is exactly happening. So our demo is going to be on the web application of Dust itself. On the web application, you will be able to choose any of the underlying models that people are familiar with. You have open models from OpenAI, Claude, DeepSeek if you must, and if you're very French and very patriotic about it, Mistral as well. For sure, you can use that. Same, the other part is basically we allow you to connect your company data and knowledge to Dust. And this is quite essential because then whenever you're using the power of the LLMs, it's very contextual based because we have access to your actual company data and knowledge. You don't need to upload them again and again. You will be able to build agents that use data from many different tools that you have your knowledge base stored in. So you can see Slack there, Notion there, Salesforce, etc. And this is where I think Dust becomes really, really interesting. Then on top, with Dust, we're also trying to be very flexible on where can you work with these agents. So for example, right now, you can call these agents in Slack. You have a Google Chrome extension. For people who are familiar with N8N, Zapier, Make, you can call Dust agents in your workflows over there as well. And the primary reason people use us is semantic search across their knowledge base. But now a lot of people are also using Dust agent to take actions, build reports, update properties in HubSpot, all of those kind of things. And I'll show you some of those today, right? So, and this is something I'll show you in a bit more detail, but I think it's important for us to understand what an agent is. I think if we do a poll right now, we're going to get a lot of different definitions. And I want to give you mine just for the sake of this webinar so that we're on the same page, right? So an agent in Dust is essentially primarily two main things. It's text-based instructions. So if a very quick idea is, imagine that you are going to write a job description for an intern. Your intern is very smart, has a lot of processing power, will not get tired, will not ask for holidays. If you were going to write a job description for them purely based on text, that would be essentially instructions. The second part is knowledge. So this is knowledge that you can connect with that from your company. So this is your documents in Notion, your tickets in Jira, your properties in HubSpot, your messaging in Slack, your tickets in Zendesk, etc. These two things together create an agent. And this is something that we're really focusing on. We don't want this to be a very complex endeavor. We want you to be able to make an agent in 5 minutes and then over time make it better. But just by doing these two things, you can have an agent. Then there's a third leg you can add on top, which is tools. So, hey, they can do semantic search, they can create dashboards, they can interact on your behalf in other tools. So they can create a draft email, they can update properties on HubSpot, launch a Notion page, connect to Jira, all of those things. You don't need your agent to do that, but if you want, you have the capacity to now do that directly in Dust. And we'll play around with all of these things. For today, this is the first part that I'm going to be working on. And this is where I'll show you the agents that I use on a day-to-day basis. You'll see some of the names of these agents. So for example, so it does help us find ICPs. It's called IC Fire. A lot of these names are a shout out to my colleague, Edward. He enjoys naming them in a very fun manner. And he built some of these and we'll show you them on how, essentially what they do. Some in these cases, I've already called the agents to do the actions, and I'll explain to you why I did that in advance. It's not to not have demo effect. It's more to make sure that we don't spend time while the agent is doing deep research, but we'll get to that part. So the primary first part is discovery and prospection, and we'll be using all of these agents over there. The next part is going to be follow-ups, demo prep, handover, a bunch of other things. And this is another part I really want to focus on, not because I don't love prospection, I'm sure we all do. This is a lot more because I feel like when people are thinking about what agents to build, I generally say a good starting place is that, hey, if there were things you had to do which didn't necessarily require a lot of cognitive load, but a lot of manual work, should be some of the first things that get off your plate. So you don't spend time doing those. And what I've generally seen is that I've been able to hand off a lot of these tasks to agent, which has actually given me even more flexibility when I'm doing prospection to really hone down on why am I reaching to these people and how am I reaching out to them. So in a world of like mass scaling and customization, it's funny how if agents can do many of your other tasks, you can do better prospection overall because you have more time to do it. So we'll follow on some of these things because if you're an AE, SMB, mid-market, or enterprise, prospection is just where the journey begins. Then you have discovery calls, then you have many other steps. And I want to give you glimpses of each one of these. The goal is that you're inspired enough that you want to end up trying building agents for every single part of your sales cycle. That's what we'll be doing, right? So enough of a slideshow, I think, and too much of a monologue on what's going to happen. Let's actually move to what we want to build. So let me know if you still see my screen. You can. I just switched to Windows.
Yeah, perfect.
Okay.
Maybe you can just close the window of with our faces.
True. Good call. And the height part. Any questions so far, Louise, that we need to tackle, or can I go in?
Okay, I think we can continue. People are saying in the chat, "Oh, you don't use this. Your life is about to change too." Then same with La Growth Machine. So that's pretty cool because I think people are waiting for the demo.
I understand. No, I agree with the sentiment. We're not going to spend too much time doing other things now. So this is the Dust interface when you're on dark mode. So you can kind of see like these are all of my chats on the left. I'm going to close those for now. These are three of my favorite agents. So this one helps me, for example, post on LinkedIn, helps me write content over there. One is to send invites, and the other one to, but we'll get there in a bit. The first thing you can always do in Dust is, as I said, you have all of the LLMs available. So you have, for example, GPT-5, you have Claude as well. You can call whichever one you want and do any prompt. For example, write a poem on La Growth Machine. And Eloise, if they write a good one, feel free to use it. No copyrights on our part.
Yeah, just to have a question, people asked what is the at XXX in the presentation. So these are not tools; there are different agents.
Yes, exactly. Those are the name of the agents that I'll be showing. Good question. I should have clarified that. Yes, because we have random names. You can name it anything, just XYZ. Those are just the names of the agents we're calling. So taking a step back, you can see there's two poems already on the growth machine. And this is like me just calling an LLM agent, right? Now, if I go back and I want to do something a bit more interesting here, something more contextual. So I've already written this prompt, but this is an agent that we use called Real Frank, named after one of our solutions engineer, Frank, who's in New York. And you can see like one of the reasons I would use this is when I'm talking to clients or customers and they ask me something technical. Now, my background is not very technical, so I regularly need to talk to sales engineers to make sure everything is moving fluid. So they've essentially given me an agent that is like our first line of defense or the first line that I need to be interacting with to take the load off them, and they can do other things as well. So for example, I have a question from a client. I'm going to call Real Frank, and I'm going to simply ask it this question. So it's, hey, write me a concise, emphatic, we should always have empathy, update to this client explaining why this particular problem is happening and what are we going to do about it. So you can see Frank is working, or the real Frank is working. And very soon I'll have an email that essentially explains this. Generally, in order to do this, I would have to have a chat with my SE, understand this, write it on my own, and then send it forward. While now, basically, that entire workflow has gone down to this.
Okay. And so you can plug different source, right? Different provider like ChatGPT, Claude, etc.
Exactly. And I'll go into that part before I go into the other agents, because this is an important part for us to build the foundation on. So if I click on the real Frank, and if I go in the back, you can see, let's just quickly open it. This is basically Frank's job description, role and purpose. You are a solutions engineer who provides technical support answers that can be directly shared with customers. Your responses should be ready to send, requiring no editing. And generally, I'm giving him more and more instructions to make it more robust. But if you're starting to build an agent, this line is enough just to start. And then you can add more things if there's like a particular output you want it to be very direct, you want it to be very frank, pun intended over there, etc. And you can see I've given it very brief response guidelines. But there is no coding here. There is nothing complicated here. This is a text-based document that you can use. You can write over here, and essentially the instructions do your job. On this part as well, this is where you can select the different LLMs that are open to you. So I have ChatGPT 5 now. A lot of people for marketing agents generally prefer to Claude. You can use Mistral. It's completely up to you on what do you want to do over here. Same for reasoning. If the job is not so complicated that you're giving the agent, you can choose lighter reasoning. It's faster responses, higher reasoning for more structured data sets, more complex data sets. But essentially, this is where you are building your agent. And Frank is a good example because it does a very critical job for us. especially if I'm in sales. How quickly I respond to customer queries, I've seen over 10 years, helps in moving the deals fast. I think generally everyone would agree with that, as long as the response is of high quality. So
Yeah.
this really helps me step that up, right? So this is step one. Step two, yeah, go on.
Question: do you have any framework to give to make good instruction for an AI agent? Like, for example, Eliana asked, do you recommend that level of detail generally, or less detail, or more, or do you have any framework? I know also that you can provide PDF, Notion. So what kind of detail do you recommend to give? Any framework, something to help people build their agents?
Absolutely. So the way I always suggest people start is keeping things very simple. Write a small paragraph of what this agent needs to give it an idea of what kind of an output you would need, and start there and see how it responds. Once you query it and it gives you a response back, naturally you will understand what more do you want it to do.
What miss? What is not well with nuanced?
Exactly. And we're going to get to the nuance part. But essentially, like here, you can always say like response guidelines include a greeting and closing. I would not say these are good practices for sure. And if you ping me later on, I can give you like even more on what we've done. We'll show you a couple of complex agents, but don't think this is the starting point. This is like after refinement that over time you will have your agent here. If you want to be very detailed in the beginning, there is nothing stopping you. I would just never want you to think like, hey, my brain is not working today. I'm a bit tired to write all of this. Should I create an agent or use an agent or not? An agent can work even just with this much information.
Okay, and I think you can also just drag and drop, like drag and drop a documentation, a help center, something like that.
Exactly. So now we're getting to that part, right? So the next thing that you'll see over here is like there is add knowledge and add tools. So add knowledge is, as I mentioned, your company knowledge. For example, here, Frank already has four different data sources that it has access to: our Slack, our Notion, Fathom, because we use that for recording, so Fathom transcripts, and it's looking at all of this to give me the appropriate response over here, right? Fathom, why? Because imagine if there's a very particular customer query that just came to me, I can ask it like, hey, the Koth machine is trying us, they're in pilot, they've just asked this question, check my last transcript and answer it. The nice thing is these are all synced in Dust. So you don't need to upload a transcript every time. Whenever there's a new transcript, this agent has access to it. So you're setting it up once. Same for Slack. Imagine you've given it access to the sales channel. Every time there's new information in the Slack channel, this agent is going to have it. Same for Notion. And this is on search. If you are doing something that requires referencing something very particular, like for example, you're saying, I always use the MEDIC framework for my discovery calls. So every time you're checking my transcripts and I want you to give me feedback, please make sure you reference this MEDIC thing. We have a thing over there. So let's say I add knowledge. I go to company data over here. I do connected. Let's imagine I've just chosen Slack again for now. I won't save this, but we'll see. You have an option here saying include data. Include data essentially forces the agent that it always needs to reference this particular document when it is looking at other data as well. Like if it does semantic search across all of the data sets you've given it, it has to make sure this one is being referred to. It's a very quick trick to make sure that it knows you need to follow these guidelines and everything else it looks at is in relevance to this. So
Yeah,
like,
yeah. At content marketing, we do use this kind of things to like have the SEO policy.
yes,
And like this is a great content, but is it well aligned with SEO guidelines, for example? This is my guidelines.
exactly. And we have the same, for example, with our legal team. When we get NDAs in, we have like our default NDA include data. So I can simply include a new one and say like, hey, can you check this company's NDA versus our standard one? Are there any red flags? Same for security questionnaires, etc. So like when you know there's one standard reference point, include data helps a lot. Here, we don't need to do that. We just need it to do semantic search across all of the data sets we've given it. It does the job. And now we have tools. So tools is what I said, like ability to take actions in different places. So essentially, I could allow Frank, or the real Frank, to put a draft email for me. All I need to do over there is scroll down. There's going to be a Gmail, uh, like a Gmail tool somewhere over here. Let me quickly, yeah, there it is. If I click on more info, this is all the things. This is like a small menu by Gmail for our as a tool saying you can do all of these things. So I can ask my agent to get drafts from my Gmail or create a new draft, delete draft, get messages, and generate replies. So Frank already made the email. For now, I would copy paste it, but I could have given it the tool set to further do more jobs, for example. So the reason I'm showing this is because what I show you, as much as I want to, I also don't want anyone to be anchored to it. Your best use case is what you will think about.
Mm.
That's on what I will show you. My job as an AE or GTM in Dust is to show you the baseline principles you have available to basically do whatever you want.
We have a question and a use case. Maxime asked, is it possible to guide the flow of an agent, like a chatbot in some part of the answer? My use case is this one: provide the right content to go-to-market teams and provide CTAs with funnel, gives right track link.
Hmm. So the CTA part, I'll need to check on this part, but in terms of the guidelines to your team, 100%. And I can kind of show you an example of what that could even look like. So this is to show you like a contextual, but not so complicated agent at the same time. Now let's dig slightly moving into what we've actually been using. And I want to give you a deep dive into that. So, and I think this will answer this question a bit, but otherwise I'll address it in the end in much more detail for sure.
Perfect.
Right. So this is one of the ones, as you said, IC Fire. This was the name of an agent, and I use it regularly to find ICP accounts to prospect. Right. So for example, here I asked IC Fire, I need to find 10 ICP accounts to prospect this week. Very vague. Sometimes I wake up like that on Mondays. Uh, so IC Fire is asking me, like, yeah, happy to help you, but give me some more information, please. Uh, Search filters. What's the industry you want to focus on? Any geography, any company size, etc. And once you do this, I'll help you. So I'm like, hey, let's aim for fintech in the UK. These many people, ideal if they have any recent triggers like fundraising or hiring spree. These bad spellings here are intentional. I mean, I also do them generally, but here they're intentional because it doesn't matter to an LLM. It's smart enough to figure the difference, right? So based on this query, ICFire is doing this over here. I have identified 10 high quality fintech prospects based on this criteria and generated a CSV file if you want. This was your search summary. These are the findings. Part of the instructions for ICFire is to ensure no one else has these accounts because I don't want to be focusing on anyone that my teammates are already reaching out to. So it's telling me these are 10 accounts that are inside your ICP, what I've given it, already in HubSpot, but not assigned. These three are not in HubSpot and that you should be looking into. And it's explaining to me why these prospects are a perfect fit for an AI workplace automation.
Mm.
It has access to our HubSpot. It has access to our documentation about what ICPs look like. So we used include data over here. So it has the perfect reference and it can then branch out from that if something is not matching it, right? And it's given me immediate action items to do as well. So this is basically one agent. Every Monday, I can use it to be like, hey, I need 10 more companies, 20 more companies, two more to prospect now. Once this was done, I called my second agent, which is GTM. This is more of like an enrichment agent, right? So I was like, can you do the following on the list above? Company deep dive, competitive positioning, stakeholder mapping. GTM is allowed to go onto the web and search and do deep dives in different spaces as well. So GTM did its thing, and it shows like these three companies saying you should really be talking to these. If anyone from these companies is on this webinar, let's have a conversation afterwards as well. So it gave me three. It also gave me key insights over there. So why? What is the AI leadership talking about? Because it does scour the web. I gave it high reasoning as well. Who are the key decision makers here and why as well? And there is information for the three that it recommended on triggers that it found online and that they matched the conversation above. An interesting thing to note here, this is an ongoing conversation now between me and two agents. The first one did one job. Now the second one is building on it.
Mm.
So it's almost like if you were in like a chat session on Slack with your colleagues and you're brainstorming ideas or giving feedback. It's a bit similar when you start working with agents, right?
Great.
So it did this entire job. And just to be stupid, I'm like, hey, so what happened? And it said, what just happened? I did this.
Mhm.
Company deep dive, competitive positioning, stakeholder mapping, and I gathered the key intelligence. I've given you immediate next steps. This took me to my next agent called Outreach Pro. Outreach Pro is interesting because I'm still making it better, but I use it to develop a cadence that I can then take to La Grotte machine and actually launch this prospection, right? So what does Outreach Pro have? There's a group that I follow a lot. Maybe some of you would know them as well. 360 something to President's Club. I forget the exact name, but they regularly do a lot of podcasts on sales practices, etc. And they have guidelines of like what is really good outbound cadence, what is really good at discovery calls. So I was experimenting with their documentation. I put that in include data, like, hey, when you build a cadence, make sure you're following these best practices in this particular place. And this cadence is being built on that. So, for example, for Sean Henderman in Zilch, we're basically this is the full cadence that has been built. It's giving me the emails, it's giving me the LinkedIn connections, DMs, etc. I don't need to take this on face value. I can cross question it, I can ask it to change it. But the main thing over here is that it has knowledge of all of my past case studies. It has knowledge of emails that have worked in the past in our HubSpot. It has web search knowledge about what were their recent triggers, and it's building it based on that, right?
Question from Baptiste. So can we use it as like in bulk, like something similar to the plugin GPT for Sheet? If you know, it's like Baptiste has a database of prospect. He wants to personalize some variables for each prospect thanks to AI.
Yes. So we haven't done that yet but you technically you can do that. And I'll show you in a bit how, because for example, in G Sheet, we get a lot of like security reviews. So there's a Dust agent ability to work inside G Sheets to answer security questions. I don't see why that would not work. If you were, let's say, having 100 people and you're like, hey, search, it will take a while for sure because it's going to be, especially if it's going to really find information on them, it will take a while for sure, but there is no technical incapacity for it to not be able to do that. Yes.
Okay.
We haven't done that yet. Like at least at our space, we
Yeah.
haven't done that. We're doing it more like this for now, but this is something even we're thinking about exploring for the future.
Clara asked for this prospect list that you asked to ICPs. I think. Do you need to collect an external additional provider, or it's just LLM?
This is just LLM. There is
Okay.
no external provider connected to this test account, for example.
Okay, and Maxime, who asked about the guided flow, say that's a nice example. Thanks. Happy to hear about the guided flow CTA because if it asks more than 2 action to GTM teams, they will never use it.
I agree. I understand. So the thing is, like, when you talk to GTM teams to do something, yeah, they're not always the easiest people to be like, hey, stop talking to your customers for a second and look at this tool and see what it can do for you. But once they start using it, I've generally seen it's very hard to get them off it. In fact, most would end up making their own AI agents as well, because once you have Dust, anyone can do that. You all have the ability to build. So I will be curious, Maxime, at some point, maybe in the end, for it to understand exactly what it would be the CTAs you want them to be going towards, and we can have an exchange on that part. But let me quickly show you some of the other things as well that impact the like your overall deal flow, and then I think I'll dig into even further in this question.
Yes.
Okay, so let's say these emails are now done. I'm now the next part is this is where I use the growth machine quite a lot now, is basically taking all of this information and actually putting it in the content over here directly. Right now, I copy paste. Hopefully, we come to a world where everything is connected very well together, and it would be just another agent that moves from here to there. Eloise, this is something we should explore for sure.
Of course, I was thinking we don't have a native integration. Let's do that.
Exactly. That should be, I think, for a lot of salespeople, they would love if what their agents are doing are directly coming over here. But here, what I've generally enjoyed the most right now is I'm a very visual person. So for me to be able to play around and holistically move my next variables coming up has really made a huge difference as to why I've been using the growth machine versus some of the others. And one of the things that has helped us generate really good results here is also when I am on the LinkedIn messages, this part, real chat. This has really been like very good simulation of sending text messages or like messages in LinkedIn in a way that people text. So versus one large paragraph saying like, hello, this is what we are, this is what we do you want to speak? It's like, hey, XYZ, then the next message, then the next message. And for some reason, I think it's funny how more AI is coming. We're also inclined to suddenly feel and be more human. And this has kind of really helped in giving that touch, even though a lot of it was being generated by AI. So
Yeah, this is I think it's super hard to think it's automated when you receive three message with the one delay of 2 seconds, and also you have three notification, not one, also. So yeah, this is quite a cool feature. That's one of my favorite feature at La Growth Machine, to be honest.
exactly. And now we're kind of moving towards to try voice as well. I'll be able to share more like how that turns out, but it's been quite impactful. So I would say for sure, anyone who wants to try this has been really good on LinkedIn. In my last company at Brigade, like emails were just generally not working for the target audience we wanted to, which were in hospitality. So they would not open emails, but they were very active on LinkedIn. And generally, when we were using like Growth Machine, it really helped us stand out. And I kind of wish we had this then. Actually, this would have been better versus one big chunky LinkedIn message overall. So to kind of like trace one step back, once we've built the cadence, I put it over here. I would not advocate, at least we haven't done it very so far, that put everything on an LLM. LLMs do have a particular way of speaking. We are able to manipulate some of this, but I would still recommend people to spend a bit of time in understanding how this thing sounds in the end. The amount of time now it goes to create your first cadence has gone severely down,
Hmm.
but I still feel like we should take that time saved and add touches that we feel can make a real difference once we have the insights, once we have the information, once we have the triggers, and tweak these here before we launch them. I would not advocate on completely relying on the LLMs and not doing it. I think LLMs have now taken over some of the manual part and allowed us to now spend more time where your own experience and your own instincts come into place. And I would never advocate for us not to be using them because that's what still sets us apart from them.
Yeah.
Right? The other thing I would do obviously here is then also do the lookalikes. So for example, if I'm trying to go to the LGM database, I can essentially put one of the companies over there. So for example, the one over here was BNK. This allows me to find more that I can. Let me see, where did I go? Here I am. So if I put it here, I'm very quickly able to see like other lookalikes over there, filter them in a lot more detail. Like let's say size was still 200 to 500, location was the UK, I can put it down, United Kingdom, and industry is already financial services. So I have other companies in a similar sphere. So if my first cadence works, this is generally where I would go afterwards and be like, hey, if they agreed to this or to a meeting, now we're here. So I can also try to ping these guys if their core product, etc., is similar. So just to kind of give you an idea on how we would generally be setting things up.
Do you know that in your inbox part section in La Growth Machine, which is a unified inbox gathering LinkedIn and email, when you have somebody who says, I'm interested, the AI of La Growth Machine
Hmm?
understand that. And so it provides you similar leads to this one.
Oh, nice. I haven't.
Exactly. The lookalike is push and pull. You have the push mode from a search, like you just showcase in the LGM database, but the lookalike also is running automatically in the inbox, so that you have a pipeline that is nurtured automatically whenever somebody says, I'm interested.
Interesting. Okay, I need to experiment with this part more. So I'm going to do that. Thanks for, I'm learning from this webinar. Okay, so now imagine like, so now I'm going to take a step out of prospection, even though I know it's like the charge, one of the favorite topics that we do, because I think there's a lot of value that you get from some of the other things as well. So let's say this is the prospection, all of this is done. Now, basically imagine one of them actually says, yes, let's have a conversation. So here, this is another agent that we have called Chubby Hubby. Again, Ed, thank you for these names. It allows me to prepare for that. So I can simply ask it like, hey, this is help me prepare for a discovery call with BNVK, Donald Jackson. And it's giving me some ideas on, hey, pre-call brief, company context, recent triggers again about the company, but also about that individual person. So even if you've done massive scale prospecting, you do have meetings, this really helps you prepare better. And then below, it kind of guides me. So this is, I think one of the questions there was also like, how do we set in guidelines? You can set guidelines on like, hey, this is our ideal playbook for discovery. So in this case, this is how you should go about doing this. So it's already giving me my call objectives, primary goals, metrics that I should be thinking about, and it's giving me my question framework. So these are the things that I should be asking this person in order to make sure that I do a solid discovery. And examples. So anytime any of your salespeople have calls coming up, they can simply call an agent. The agent would have access to who the call is with, and it will have access to your best practices and past discovery call sessions through transcripts. And it can give you a very contextual outlook on how should you be preparing for this upcoming call. This would have helped me a lot when I was especially scaling up, when I was in my SMB days and then even in my mid-market days. But even now, for some of the the clients that I really want to work with, I'm using this quite regularly. And you can see it goes quite detailed. Like how do you position your framework? The funny part is this output that you're looking at. I would also want to say like this is not out of the box. You could really play with this. Like, hey, when I asked you to help me prepare for a discovery call, I don't need this part. I only need these things. I only need these questions, etc. So just to kind of give you an idea, like you obviously play around with the agent itself, but the output is also you can format it in a way that you want.
That's perfect.
Brilliant. So now let's move on to some of the other things. Like, okay, so again, like call flow outline, it's giving me a final idea, like spend this much time in opening, this much time in discovery, positioning, pilot discussions, and the key success factors. So I'm a bit more ready for what happens next. Now imagine that this call has gone really well. Generally, there would be a follow-up. Before we go into the follow-up, I'll show you something very quickly here, because in a lot of the tools that I worked on, we get security questionnaires quite early on in Dust as well, because we're connecting with a lot of data. So I would regularly get questionnaires like this. Hey, want to ask you some questions regarding your solution. Please find the questions below, right? So I think most salespeople have seen this at some point in their life. And if they haven't, I'd be curious to know why. But how would I answer this really fast? Not generally, I would need to talk to my security officer or take past emails. Now you can call our Chrome extension, which allows you to call an agent directly there. So for me, it's Security Sam. Here it is. I asked it to extract the text from this email. It's doing that from this page. And I'm going to say, help me answer these. And it's going to do its job. So it's thinking, it's following that around, and I can open this to a completely new window again. So we're back in Dust. And you can actually trace what your agents are thinking. So if I click on this, you can see like right now, it's simply thinking, it's going through data. And very soon it will be able to give you a lot more ideas on what is it doing. This one is going through a lot of different documentation to make sure that the security part is being outputted. But generally, you can trace all of the different files, all of the different knowledge bases that it's trying to go into. And today it's doing a demo effect, asking me to provide specific questions, which I did, but it didn't listen. So if it does that sometimes, and I mean, how is a demo even full without a demo effect, right?
Yes, right.
So I'm just going to simply do it again. It has it, and now it will run. Generally, it does it by automatically taking that text or screenshot. You can choose which one you want.
Baptiste asked, can you precise if you use complementary tools to build agents? No, no one.
By complementary tools, if you could define more, but generally the tools are the ones that are giving us the data. So you still have your HubSpots, you still have your Notions, your Slacks, all of these, but we don't use anything outside of that.
Yeah, like you provide the knowledge base, right?
Exactly. That's primarily it.
Do you have any like you talked about HubSpot, but is it because you have an integration with HubSpot, or can we provide also a connection with Customer IO, for example, or something like that?
So we have native integration with HubSpot and with Salesforce. Uh, for anything else, you do have the Dust REST API, and you
Okay.
can use that to connect with anything else. So
Okay.
just to bring it back, now you can see it's going through many different documentations on our SESU type. But for some reason today we are having a demo effect, and this one is a bit down. But generally, it should be giving you a response because it's gone through all of this data.
Okay.
And you can see it over here. Uh, I'm not sure why it's not doing it today. We'll try another day. But
That's okay. We have a question from Tiffany. Says you've mentioned a lot included data, a lot of instead of search. When do you recommend to use one or the other one?
so when you have a very specific document that you always, every single time wanted to refer to, in use include data. When that's not the case, search is your best friend, because include data is like you have a standard policy. You always want to make sure the LLM follows that and it doesn't make up its own mind on how it wants to go around for information. Use include data. So
Mm,
finance teams, legal teams, they would do this. SEO policy, you would do this. If there's a glossary that it always must understand, you would use this. But if, for example, like with Frank, when it was like, hey, the knowledge is spread everywhere, there's no one standard guideline on how to answer this question, it's fine. You generally use search. The use cases for general search are much higher than the use cases for include data.
okay.
Right?
Super clear.
So
Um,
let's imagine this part actually did work. But I'll try one more agent because sometimes that does a better job. And you can also see like these are conversations like, hey, this is another one. We have like an all-knowing internal strong agent. I'm going to ask it to do the same thing. In the meantime, while it does it, I'll move on to another part. Now I'm moving on to, this is our demo space. This is not actual Dust space, just to kind of show you some of the things. For example, let's imagine you did the discovery call. Now you want to follow up. I've uploaded a transcript. Generally, this would be directly from my Fathom, or if you're using Gemini, etc. And I simply say, create my follow-ups. The transcript is there. It should already have this. It's going to basically do its job. So this is where I decided to be a bit more brave, and I have all of these agents work with you for you live. See, it's already working on this side. It's going through that conversation. It's running a tool to make it like a file. And you have the call summary, number one, what the company does, their primary pain points, etc. It's now helping me create a follow-up email draft, and it's going to use Gmail tool for that.
yeah,
And at the same time, it has access to other tools as well that you'll be able to see here. So it will be able to do a lot more work. Dun, dun, dun. So it has Gmail, it has HubSpot as a tool, and it has Google Calendar. So it can
great.
even create an invite. So if I go back, I think it will still be doing its thing. Yep. And this is it asking me permission to do some actions. So for example, we don't want you to be able, the agents to be able to send invites without our authorization in case there's any issue. So we make sure some of these actions are always authorization based. And it was basically asking me permission to create that calendar invite.
That's great.
Yep. And the goal is to make this even like more simple and even better over time. And that's kind of what the team is trying to do on an everyday basis. I think the draft might already be here. Let me quickly check. Yeah. So you already have the draft here. You can see follow-up AI-powered customer support solution. Hey, Xavier, thank you for taking the time. So it already gave, you can give it a very specific format to follow as well. Calendar invite is being done and it's done its job. Uh, well, apparently not. HubSpot update coming. So now it will also update properties in HubSpot, which takes a bit more time. So while it's doing that, I'll do another action. This is basically when I have a lot of meetings coming up in my day, I simply ask it, help me prepare. So if I do this, it has access to my calendar. It's going to do its thinking. And it's very funny. Like I'm starting to develop new habits of like while the LLMs are doing their thinking, I end up doing other tasks. So I'm trying to observe every day on like how my own behavior is changing based on how I use agents. So it has access to my Google Calendar. So it's looking at all the events. It's saying I found two customer meetings tomorrow. Now it's looking at Salesforce in this particular case so that it has more information on whom I'm meeting with, what have been my past interactions, and it can guide me better. So, and you can follow all of the different tools that it's running on the side. So if, at some point, if you want to diagnose how did it come to its answer, it's quite straightforward for you.
Mm.
Let's see if this one is already done. So, yep, it's already done. It said like, okay, HubSpot strategy outlined. Everything is set up in HubSpot. So if I go in HubSpot, this is the new company that was just created. So create date today at, I think it's a bit earlier. Let me quickly refresh. If it's done the new one, I think it's this one. And here's some of the notes from the meeting that we already did. Already there. But essentially, this can create new contacts. This can create new fields directly in HubSpot from your agent, depending on what you've associated it with, in case someone is wondering. And HubSpot has a full menu on what you can or cannot do. Because we have a lot of salespeople here, I think it's important to quickly show them what you can do in HubSpot. So if I click on the HubSpot MCP, you can have, it's quite a long list, but you will have a lot of different things that you can have the agents do, bring from HubSpot and also do in HubSpot, like tasks, leads, deals. So if there's any revenue operations people here, there can be agents like, hey, as soon as someone has done a discovery call, automatically move them from here to here in HubSpot, create these tasks that they have to do.
Super great. We have a question from Tiffany. How did you build the follow-up agents? Because I built some agents to do the same, but most of the time they time out.
Mhm.
And how to trigger it automatically when I hang up, because timeout in Make. She used Notion and not HubSpot as CRM.
And that's a good question. So generally, let me retry something here. So generally, what I've seen is that depending on the tasks that you've given it, agents do run for quite a long time over here. So I haven't seen timeout issues unless there was a lot of API calls being made. So I would generally say this is something you should not face if you're just trying to create new documents in Notion, even from a follow-up perspective.
Mm-hmm.
It will do most of the job on its own. You don't need to come back to it. The only point you would need to come back to is if, for example, there are actions that need your permission. If you then don't do those, that's the only part where I've seen timeouts happen. But generally, no.
From your multiple years of experience in sales, Clemence asked, what do you think are the most useful bots, agents for sales reps to help them in their day-to-day? If you have to select like three agents for sales reps to help them in their day-to-day, which one will be?
So for me, it might not be a popular answer, but it's actually not the prospection ones. It's actually the ones that help me prepare for my meetings, help me do my follow-ups with better quality and with more speed. I've generally seen that deals in which I was very reactive and I was able to do more personalized follow-ups, content building, are generally the deals where I worked the best. So,
Mm-hmm.
and I'll give you a very quick snapshot of something that we're doing. It's not out in the public yet. It's going to come soon. But if you see, for example, this agent has done its job. So it's given me my schedule for tomorrow, key research for both of the meetings coming up, and actions. It's also created a dashboard actually for me to visualize this automatically. So this is your meeting tomorrow. This is only for Dust right now. Like we haven't launched this publicly, so it's a bit of beta, so it's a sneak preview. But basically, I've also tried using something like this when I'm discussing with customers. Like imagine someone wants to automate their customer support. I would, in my discovery, what would I normally do? Understand what their current flow is. What are all the different steps a ticket has to go through before it's resolved? What are their SLAs? Then have a conversation of where I think agents come in and how much would their SLAs or other key metrics improve. Taking that transcript and then immediately building a flow that something over here inside 2 minutes, which would normally take me 2 hours to do in Figma, is a game changer for me because it's customized. It's based on their verbatim, their words, not my interpretation of their words. And I can generate something of this sort super fast, and then I can share it with them. So these kind of follow-ups, the quality of it and the speed of it without compromising on the quality are generally the ones that have helped me the most.
Mm.
I really like the Frank agent because now I have to bother my engineers less. Same for the security one. Like I'm hoping it's done its job. Let's quickly see. Yes, it has. So here is all of the answers for my security questionnaire. I don't need to bother my security officer anymore unless there's a serious matter. So, so the biggest element has been, was this data available to me? Okay, great, it was. Was it available easily? If it wasn't available easily and now I have access to it, for me, that's the most beautiful thing. And then it's, you do what you want with it, right? So, but preparing for the demo, following up afterwards, making sure that the data that would allow me to handle this customer spread out is now in my hands and I can use it and process it really fast. It's really, really interesting. So I haven't given you three per se, but I would say this foundation is what I enjoyed the most.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And same, I'm gonna just run a couple of other quick ones. Account insight, like this is like a 360 analysis shot on any account that you have going on right now. And while it's doing it, once you've closed a deal, like if you get to that beautiful, amazing space in the end, now you need to do a handover for your customer success. They can be pretty picky about the information that you need. I can simply call another agent and do an account handoff. So these are things that were going to take me a fair bit of time in the beginning, and now agents have taken over. So
Mm.
a lot of other areas where my personal touch and my human touch is always needed, but I wouldn't have the bandwidth. Now I do. So this is kind of like how I want even people to think about working with agents. Like save your cognitive load for where you as a person are really needed. Apply yourself there better, because a lot of other things that would give you more manual work, more stressful work, can slowly be phased out towards agents now. So this one, for example, is going to create a Notion page actually to one of the earlier queries that we do. And I think once it does it, I'll be able to show you where that is. While that is happening, here you can see, give me an insights on fluence, recent activity, open issues, sentiment and feedback, and potential opportunities. So even if you're like customer success actually, and you want to see how an account is using you, we can connect you to Snowflake, where it gathers all the data of how you're being used. You can see how you can get a report on how a customer is using, prepare for your QBR, and you're in a much better situation to answer questions. Here as well, now it's calling Notion. As soon as it's done, I think I'll be able to show you like the page in Notion. Yeah. Oh, I know we're at the end, so I'm gonna now shut up and see if there's any other questions left.
So I think we end all the questions. Do you guys have more question? This is your time. Clemens asked, this might be an issue more related to Notion, but one of our issues using this is the reliability of the information, because some Notion pages are out of date. How do you suggest maintaining a reliable agent when it searches all over the Notion database?
Okay, so there's ways to handle it, but I have to start by saying like your agents will be as good as your data. So there is no way around giving them information, and if the information is not good, for them to give you good results, right? Having said that, we have current customers that are using agents to make sure that their database stays up to date. So I'll give you an example. There's one which is working on customer support. They have their public FAQs. Then they also have their Notion page with information on how they handle different tickets. And they also have a Slack channel where they discuss regularly how new problems are coming. And they have their Zendesk tickets where customers are actually asking them questions and they're answering. So every week, basically, they call this agent to check what is publicly written in their FAQs, compare it with what are they talking about it in Zendesk, what are they talking about in Slack, what does it say in Notion, and then mentions the discrepancies between the four different data sets, and asks them to see which one is the most relevant one to function on right now. And probably that is the one that should be in Notion and in their public FAQ.
Mm.
So there's ways on ensuring that your data stays safe. By the way, I think the account handoff should be done, and it's here. So this is the account handoff mentioning the different dates for when different things were happening, and it's a document ready over there. You could obviously process this in a very different way.
That's super great. People say that's super cool. Thanks, Fateh and Eloise. Thanks. It was very interesting to see your sales use case agents. Tiffany said, "I will be able to share the prompts of the agent you show us."
Sure, absolutely. Happy to do that afterwards. No, not a problem.
So about the recording and all that resources, what we can do is I think I'll put the replay on the recording of the on the YouTube channel, and we will email you whenever the resources are available. And yeah, you can get everything. And also, if you want to try Dust, you can just create your account. I already said it on the chat, but create an account on dust.tt, and you can ping Fateh on LinkedIn with the email of your account, and he will grant to you 2 months of free trial. So also, if you want to try La Growth Machine, you here have a special link that you can use it, that you can use, and I think no question. Thanks. Amazing.
No problem. I'm. Thanks for listening to my extended
Yeah.
my rants as well. I appreciate that. And yes, if you make a Dust account, as Eloise said, ping me on LinkedIn. I'll just give you 2 months for free. We want more and more people to play, experiment, share. So anything we can do to encourage that, we're here to help.
Yeah. Question, and that's a great one. Is there a capability to automate agent's task, or does it always need you as a trigger?
Very good question. In this is something which is being worked on as we speak. So in my own tenant, we already have some of these things available, but they're still in beta, which is why I didn't show them. But triggers is one of the main things we're working on. Currently, we know people who are using Make, Anytime, etc., because you can call your agent from those tools as well. Okay. But I think over the next 2 to 3 months, you can
yeah. Yeah, because of course, one of the best use cases, as soon as the demo is finished, you can like just follow up agent gets to work automatically, and yeah, exactly. That's great. Thank you very much, Fateh. It was super great to have you with us today, and I think you did it. Like your first webinar was super great.
I hope everyone
you guys enjoy Fateh's speech. Just put a thumbs up or a 1 and not 0. Yeah, because Fateh said to me, it's my first webinar. So yeah, it was really, really great. Thank you very much, guys. You will receive the recording, the resources, also with the prompts. We will take a few times with Fateh to gather the prompts. And yes, I think we're done today. So happy to also open the debate on the Playground, which is our community platform. You also have the Slack of Dust. So yeah, you can like just join us on the community, and see you around with a new expert next week.
Thank you, everyone.
Fateh. Bye.
Bye.